Hello and welcome to another episode of The Lion's Den. I'm Toby Bennett from Black Crow Gaming, and today we are going to be talking everything about the Dilf Supreme, Lion L. Johnson. So, he is the Primarch of the Dark Angels. You probably know that if you're watching this video because you're probably a big old Dark Angels fan. And like me, you're probably a little bit sad that the Lion doesn't see as much competitive play as his Chaotic and Ultramarine brothers. The focus of this video is what could he bring to a competitive list? Why is he not actually good enough to make these competitive lists currently? And then what could be done to solve those issues surrounding why the Lion isn't currently good enough? And then actually a competitive list that I've made with the Lion in, and actually in a Dark Angels detachment as well. So hopefully you'll enjoy it. Let's crack straight to it and let's talk about what the Lion can bring to your army. So the roles that he provides, and I think in all honesty I struggled a little bit with this one because when you compare him to a lot of the other models, he just doesn't stack up quite right, but we'll talk about that a little bit more later. So the Lion, his sort of massive bonus is that he has fights first, and that can be sort of brought alongside his lone op aura if he's within 3 inches of another Dark Angels infantry unit, and then that sort of makes this very strong, powerful fights first model with a 3-up invuln that can sort of bounce quite a lot of damage. So that's the kind of role that he provides. He can be extremely survivable if you keep rolling 3s, because obviously a 3-up invulnerable save is rather good, and it can swing, and we'll come on to that, but that is the sort of the focus of what the Lion can bring to your army. And if you're playing most maps, you can kind of deploy him safely in lone op range behind a wall, 8 inches away from your expansion objective, 8 or 9 inches I think it is, so you'll be able to get him onto your expansion objective turn 1, providing a strong unit that will be able to hold the objective and not be pushed off very easily. He then also gives out an aura with his Primarch ability that gives a 4-up Feel No Pain to mortal wounds. So kind of the Watcher ability, but in a big aura, which is pretty nice. There's a lot of devastating wounds out there. There's a lot of mortal wound output from quite a few armies. Just to have that aura is very solid, and for him to have it himself, it's also very handy, because a lot of the time the key easy answer to these kinds of monsters is just to deal mortal wounds to them. So having a way around that is very solid. And then with his damage profile of both the strike and now the 2 damage sweep, he's very efficient into both tanks and infantry. He will carve through most infantry units. Anything without an invulnerable save, he will just utterly destroy. Watching the Lion into Baby Knights is quite funny, because I've had moments when before I've even rolled my to wound roll, I've killed a Baby Knight with the Lion because he has lethal hits and -4 AP. So it's quite entertaining when that just carves through your opponent. That flat 4 damage can be very nice. So that's the kind of role that the Lion fits. He's that very terrifying beatstick. Often he's well placed to kind of secure your expansion and then push up, offering a nasty heroic intervention threat. But why is he not currently seeing play? That's very important here. And ultimately, why is he not good enough right now? So for me, the major one, and I've said this in a few videos, is survivability for his points. He's 315 points, which is very expensive, and the problem is that 3-up invulnerable save alongside the essentially a Rhino defensive stat is just incredibly poor. He will, as soon as he starts failing those 3-ups against the kind of guns that are going to be pointed at him, he goes down far too quickly. Even against something like when you do play against Dark Angels as well, Deathwing Knights, they drag him down so efficiently just because they will just, he might be rolling the 3-ups, but there's only 10 wounds. Only 5 of those attacks need to get through. And they're attacking with so many attacks that he does often struggle in those matchups. So it's very difficult to get his points out of him compared to that survivability. And because of that points investment, you really need him to be earning those points back, and he just can't. It's really difficult for him to actually efficiently earn those points back, which is a real shame. In fact, your opponent sort of has to misplay for you to be able to earn those points back with him, or you have to get very creative. Now, we've decided to get quite creative in this later list, but I think that survivability is the main thing that holds him back. Then he really doesn't stack up very well against similar models. Even if Angron charges him, Angron kills him, which kind of sucks because he fights first. He's, in the lore, he beats Angron. But no, he can't kill Angron. He can't kill Mortarion. If you're an Ultramarines player, you're not letting Guilliman go anywhere near him. And ultimately, even if you do kill him, he's getting up on a 3-up anyway. So it's very difficult for him to stack up against those other models. The Silent King, a Lancer, not a Gladiator Lancer, obviously, a Knight Lancer. Those kinds of models just dwarf him. And I think the most egregious is Mortarion, because obviously Mortarion is 300 points. And just makes the Lion look stupid, which is a real shame. And I'm gutted, to be honest, that the Lion is quite this poor when he stacks up to those similar sort of game-changing models that you bring. Your Rotigus, your Be'lakor, those kinds of guys that just can shape the way that a battle gets played. But the Lion just doesn't have that presence. And you could argue, yes, he can breach, while as Angron, Mortarion, Rotigus, etc., 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 they all can't breach. But it doesn't matter, because to be in those places that he needs to be to earn his points back, he needs to be in the open. And when he's in the open, the likelihood is he doesn't survive when something like Angron comes in. And yes, Angron is significantly more expensive. But the issue is Angron butchers him. And it's not even a close run thing either. So it's a real shame to see that. Then we get up onto the final point, and the fact that he's not a force multiplier. And I think this is kind of huge, because you compare his abilities to similar models. So again, we're going to go back to Mortarion first. Mortarion gives an aura of ignore modifiers. The Lion has a do mortal wounds when he rolls a 6 in combat on saves. He's a fights first character. Why is that relevant? Then Mortarion has meaningful auras, such as reroll wounds. The best that we get is a 4-up Feel No Pain to mortal wounds, which comes up a hell of a lot less than rerolling ones to wound, especially when he's wounding most things on 2s with his strike. And he also has the flat 4 damage. Yeah, he doesn't have as many attacks, but he's still doing significantly more for that Death Guard army than what the Lion can do for Dark Angels. I'm pretty sure he can also give cover, which is very nice for those Terminator or Plague Burst Crawler heavy armies, where they can push up, use cover with that 2-up save. Very, very beneficial. Then we go on to Guilliman, and obviously Guilliman again is more expensive. However, you look at the kind of the bang that he brings. Guilliman's ability is obviously get up after dying on a 3-up, compared to doing mortals on 6s. It's a joke. It's a joke. And that's before you get to the Primarch abilities. Rabute's abilities are better. All 3 are better than every single ability that the Lion has, because he provides double oath, currently obviously with a +1 to wound as well. Then you get the extra OC and re-rolling leadership tests, which I think it's Battle Shock actually rather than leadership, but which is the one that doesn't really get any use. because it's bad in terms of how good Guilliman is. I would love that on the line. I think that would be brilliant on the line. I think that would be my like auto select. And then cause like extra OC on Deathwing Knights, imagine, it'd be disgusting. I'd love that. But then the final one is free stratting every turn within 12 inches. That's disgusting. That's such a good ability, especially when you look at the Gladius and Anvil have such good stratagems as well. That, like, why wouldn't you? I mean, before Stormlance lost its reactive move for Primarchs, I was looking at an Ultramarine Stormlance list because Guilliman could go out, kill something, free strat, and reactive move himself away, which is just crazy. Obviously that has been nerfed, and the Lion really did miss out because of that. But you look at the possibilities that Guilliman can bring his army, especially with that double oath. That is really, really good. Obviously, I've kind of mentioned Angron, but again, he's giving rerolls to his army. He is just chopping anything that he goes into to pieces, and he can come back. And yes, it is unlikely that he'll come back more than maybe twice a tournament. But if he does come back, chances are you're going to win that game. Or you're in such a poor position that you were never going to win that game anyway. So having your Primarch res is crazy for both Guilliman and Angron. I mean, Angron in particular. Like bonkers. We've already gone over Morty. And when was the last time you saw a Thousand Suns list without Magnus the Red? Magnus is survivable. He's efficient. He's extremely killy. He, with that stratagem, he's giving himself free reroll everything with those +1s to hit and +1s to wound. He's just extremely efficient. And he's also a massive force multiplier for the army because he gives so many Cabal points on his own. Like if we go to like the Xenos versions and look at the Silent King, again, ignoring modifiers, you look at those nasty guns, the survivability that he can bring, either re-rolling, I think it's wounds, might be hits, I don't really know, haven't played against the Silent King for a really long time. But there's so many different things that it can do. Catan as well, halving that damage. The Incarn teleporting around the battlefield. In Inari, it gets fights first anyway as soon as it's injured. There's so many different things that just massively elevate these large models compared to the Lion. And particularly, obviously, again, this is going to be like a I hate Morty video. And like, yes, I do hate Morty. But like, Mortarion is 300 points versus the Lion at 315. I just do not understand how when Mortarion is just objectively the better model. Like, if I had the choice, I would take Mortarion every single time in my Dark Angels army. Like, he's just a slam dunk at 300 points. If Mortarion was the Lion, I think he'd be in every single one of my lists. And I don't mean like as in, he gets all the abilities, but he's still the Lion, so he's still smaller and can breach, and he's got lone up. And no, like, I mean, data sheet for data sheet swap, I would take that every single time. Less killy, but so survivable, so good, higher OC, just overall kind of disgusting. I don't quite understand. Well, I mean, I do understand why they pointed, because it's very dangerous to like point a large fights first low not beat stick too low, or to give it too many powerful abilities where it's got agency in so many different areas. But in all honesty, like, the Lion sucks compared to all of these other data sheets that we've mentioned. It's crazy to think that he has to be in the same breath as those data sheets, as Rabute, as Mortarion, as Angron, as the Silent King. It makes very, very little sense. And I know that this video is earing towards rage bait. And I'm feeling that myself. Like, I'm feeling frustrated making this video. And that's because I love Dark Angels, and seeing our Primarch suck is real shame. And I really hope to be proved wrong. I would love it if someone was actually like, no, Toby, you're completely wrong. Here is a list. Here is it doing well competitively. And I mean, like, 5-0ing super majors kind of level of competitive. That's what we're talking. This series is to try and get the best out of your army. And like, I want to see that. But right now, I just can't. And especially when he lost the ability to reactive move in Stormlance, it just, again, it made his survivability worse, which is just so difficult to then be able to balance. But I just, you look at those auras, you look at the abilities that he's got. He ultimately is just so one-dimensional because he is a very killy beatstick. That's it. That he does very little else for your army. In all honesty, when I used to play him, he used to score points for me more than anything else because he'd scare my opponent away from my expansion objective. And at 285, fine. I'll do that. I don't mind it at 285. Going up to 315 and like supposedly getting a buff because he gets an extra damage on his sweep. Yes, correct. He should have an extra damage on his sweep. Not for 30 points. Like, compare that to an enhancement from the recent Lines of the Emperor. Ad Monomartis, or whatever it's called, is 10 points and gives plus one damage. Like, that captain with the axe is damage 4, strength 12, AP 2. Like, that's nearly lion levels of good because of that enhancement. It's just it makes so little sense to me. I really don't understand it. And like, if I spend any more time on this slide, I'm just gonna get more pissed off because I want to see the lion be good, and he just isn't. So let's go on to something more positive. And how do we fix that? Now, there's lots of ideas here. I'm not sort of canvassing for all of them together. I don't think he should be the best model in the game. I don't think he should be an auto include in the army. I don't think that's fun. Like, it definitely, there should be arguments. I don't, Azrael being an auto include in the army for so long, I love playing him, but I wish there was competition. I wish like Asmodai or the Lion were good enough to compete with Azrael and to go, actually, no, you don't have to play him. Here's your other option. And I love that in Ultramarines now where they're going, can I fit both Calgar and Guilliman in? Is that an option? Does that reduce the efficiency of my army enough? Apparently not. But like, those kinds of arguments are great. I love seeing that. So how do we fix him? Let's increase his survivability. Let's make him better. So obviously in Index Dark Angels, he had -1 to wound. Now, that's good. Is it going to solve the problem? Maybe. It means that he won't get wounded on 3s a lot of the time. He'll basically have whatever that 9th edition strat that meant you could only get wounded on 4s were, because I don't think there's many things that are strength 18 out there. Obviously, with the exception of whatever they called the stupid arcs from Necrons, and a couple of other guns, which is like, yeah, at that point, fair enough. That's like, the Uber Mega Death Ray, like, fair enough. But a -1 to wound, I think, would be quite useful in just kind of keeping him alive, improving that survivability. However, I'd also like to suggest a slightly different one, and I think it's thematic with the Shield of the Emperor. The Shield of the Emperor ability is shit, quite frankly. It's almost irrelevant because he fights first. Like, okay, he gets charged by too many chaff and he can't kill every single one of them, so then he rolls some 6s on saves. Like, great, cool. So I'm suggesting blanker damage. And I don't know if I'd have it as like a selector damage or if it's just the first damage that turn he blanks it. I think it would be interesting to test. I don't know if it would make it too oppressive. Like, this is also my just ideas. I haven't tested these ideas. I don't know if they're balanced. Don't know if he'd have to go up in points to make these a thing. But like, these are the kind of things that maybe make me sort of look at him and go, oh, okay, I see how I can make this guy competitive. And like, it needs something. It needs an element of nullifying that major problem that he has, of just dying like a little bitch. Like, ultimately, it's really difficult to get around that fact that he just isn't efficient. Next increases efficiency for the rest of his army. You look at what Gulliman does, or what, we've already done that. Stop grumbling, Toby. I want that with the lion. If you've read Son of the Forest, there's an incredible scene where the lion single-handedly basically wins a space battle just because he's so damn good at being a tactician. Or there's another bit where Zabriel is describing how, sure, World Eaters have shock attack. White Scars have their way of fighting, etc., etc. Every legion, but the Dark Angels introduced that. It's the Dark Angels that originated every single thing that the Space Marines do well. But why does the lion then have to be so one-dimensional? Why does he not have some kind of ability, maybe like a redeploy, something that maybe helps his movement, something that helps his army, like rerolls to wound, anything. Like, just anything that actually increases the efficiency of his army, because let's be frank, at the moment, most Archangels have Watchers of the Dark in their unit anyway. And yeah, that's only once per game, and this is the whole time, which is great. It's not 315 points worth of great. And then just having that single dimension of just, this is a fights first killy guy. At that price, I'd prefer Lilith Hesperax, to be perfectly honest. So something more meaningful with those Primarch abilities, something for re-rolling to wounds, adding inches to charges or movement, allowing him to redeploy units, like with his Forest Witch. I'm trying to think of like other potential abilities that he might have. It's difficult. Like, I don't envy the rules team, but like, he needs something that elevates the army and supports them. Because like a redeploy, right? Sure, maybe it's good with Deathwing Knights. I'm not going to be really upset about being able to like maybe up down some Deathwing Knights, but also they're 9 inches away. Like, how scared is my opponent of my Deathwing Knights doing a 9-inch charge? Not very. Then we and like the Dark Angel specific units that are very, very good are all combat. So in terms of that shooting, and especially on the infantry side, it's all combat. So you don't have to worry so much. Like, yeah, maybe pick up Azrael and 10 Hellblasters and they could go do some nasty stuff. Are they going to survive the crackback? Are you willing to waste Azrael on something like that? Like, those are the kinds of questions that make the Lion an interesting conversation. But right now, it's just, I don't think I can actually name all 3 of the Lion's abilities, the 3 Primarch abilities, because 2 of them I just don't even look at. It's like one of them is like you can force your opponent to maybe fail a strat if they fail a leadership check. It's weird. And then finally, and I don't think this is likely, and possibly shouldn't happen, but it could be interesting, like actually lean into the fact that he is super one-dimensional and just go, fuck it, he is extremely killy. Like, he touches something, it dies. Like, no words about it. Unless they spike, he just kills it. And then if he dies, fine, no problem, because he's earned his points back. But right now, like, if Angron charges him, Angron should die. Angron does not die statistically. So maybe just like really beef up that damage output. Make him incredibly scary in combat. Like, really, really scary. Hell, maybe even look at ignoring invuns. No, that's stupid. But like, those kinds of things that just make him just this ultimate horrible beatstick that can get in your opponent's face and ruin their damn day. Like, that would be cool. And that's something I would like to see from the Lion. So those are my kind of 3 fixes. Because I think that addresses the key problem areas in maybe different ways. I think I would like to see maybe a combination of the first 2. I don't really care about the last one. I don't want the Lion to be one-dimensional. Like, yeah, sure, I love the idea of like this super killy, like Charles Dance looking motherfucker, like going in and murdering everything. But like, it's not how I play Dark Angels. It's not how I think most Dark Angels players like to play. Like, they don't want to just go like Angron and be like, wee! Oh look, he's dead now. Like it's not really as fun doing it that way. So I think a combination of the first two would be interesting. Changing the shield ability, changing his Primarch auras, I think that would be really good. Just to kind of give something else to him. Because right now it's disappointing. Okay, well, we've been disappointed enough. Let's go on the list. And I actually think this list is quite spicy and fun. The Lion's presence in it, arguable. But the list is fun, and that's what I'm focusing on. So here we go. We've got a Company of Hunters list headed up by Lionel Johnson to ultimately be that fight's first threat, to get on the expansion objective and go, hey, you're not taking this. Deal with all of these threats going at you now as well. Then we've got Samael, because Samael is brilliant. He should be in every Dark Angels list. We've got Azrael, and obviously I should say in Company of Hunters, everything's got advance and shoot, and I think fallback and shoot, and then the mounted have got advance and charge, fallback charge on top of that as well. So we've got Samael in there too with some Outriders, because that unit's really killy. Like Samael cuts things to pieces. You know what? He's nearly on a comparative level with the Lion. I've just realised that, because he's he's not quite as strong, but like he is 3 damage, 7 attacks, AP 3. I mean, he's sustained 2, which I reckon I'd take over the lethal hits the Lion does on his strike. But yeah, Samael, very, very cool with those Outriders. We've got another unit of Outriders just because I had 80 points and I thought that they'd fit nicely. I've got a unit of Assault Intercessors to babysit Azrael. I think we're all very familiar with that tactic right now. It is cheap, it is efficient, they're 2 OC, they do nice in combat, it is just solid. Next, we've got some infiltrators to sort of protect the backfield and to kind of really nail home that movement advantage, and I think really help you to dictate the pace of the battlefield, because you're not like a Stormlance where you're getting into combat with them as quickly and you're sort of forcing them to try and respond to that area. This is a little bit more fluid in its engagement and a little bit more sort of measured in its approach to winning the game. It's not throwing 15 Deathwing Knights at your opponent. It's offering different potential ways of killing them and sort of inviting the charge back and then countering very efficiently. Which brings me on to the 3 Ballistas, 2 Redemptors, and a Stormraven gunship. So the Ballistas are there because they are more survivable than Predators, and I want these Ballistas to be pushing up. They are inviting my opponent to charge them because they've got a 2-up save, they've got those innate rerolls, and they punch pretty damn hard with those lance cannons and missiles. And they're no slouch in combat either. So Ballistas sort of form that really nasty shooting base, and having assault as well, essentially assault, is very handy too, just to sort of kind of increase their movement, get them into those places where they can do some nasty damage to your opponent. Next, we've got 2 Redemptors. Similar kind of solution, where they offer a big nasty shooty threat in that Macroplasma Annihilator, flat 3 damage. It's only strength 9, but it's pretty strong. And alongside the sort of the advance and shoot, what I really like with the Redemptors is that they invite the opponent to charge them, and usually they're going to be able to survive, and then they're going to be able to fall back, and they're going to do a hell of a lot of damage. So the Redemptors to kind of draw your opponent into those areas of the battlefield where you want them to be, I think can be very beneficial. And also, the Lion can kind of mitigate their overcharge ability as well if they do fail their hazardous test. And then finally, we've got a Stormraven gunship because, I need 3 units with -1 damage. It's, essential for playing Dark Angels. But more importantly, Stormraven here, it can embark a Ballistas Dreadnought or a Redemptor Dreadnought, which I think is very, very funny. And also goddamn efficient. It's got a lot of guns. It's going to ruin a lot of days. And what you can do is you can just sort of rapid ingress it in, fly it into your opponent's backfield, then use like a ballistas just to drop out, pour a load of las cannon fire, loads of bolter fire, missiles, multi-melters, all of that good stuff, and just ruin a unit or two, maybe even 3 units. And then you can leave the ballistas there to just kind of be a pain in the arse. And then you can up down the Storm Raven, because it is a Raven Wing vehicle. So, it's kind of cool. And really quite fun. So, there's definitely some elements here that are really fun and very interesting. The Lion's place in this list is arguable, as I said before. But like, I wanted to make a list with the Lion, and this made the most sense to me because he is the kind of model that really synergizes well with a list that invites the charge, invites your opponent to come to you, puts them in that position where then your speed and your efficiency of falling back and still doing stuff, or fighting first, or just staying in there and punching them to death, and like that survivability from all those 2-up saves. In that kind of duel of shooting, this list really does do quite well. And alongside those fast-moving outriders, the Lion with his lone up, the Storm Raven just being a massive pest. There's loads of different elements that just kind of invite you to change where you're fighting and sort of find those weak points in your opponent's armor, and exploit them. I think this is a bit of a higher skill cap, because arguably it's worse than maybe Stormlance and Gladius lists, but it's definitely interesting, and it's definitely something that I would like to test, and I would like to kind of find out how good it is. So there you have it. We made a competitive list with the Lion. Yay, well done us. So let's just kind of wrap up and say thank you so much to our sponsors, Glasshammer Gaming and Terrainforge. Glasshammer Gaming, you can go and buy your very own Lion, and just pray that he gets good soon. Because obviously right now he's still a bit poo, but if you buy him now, you won't have to rush for when he immediately sells out everywhere, when GW obviously watch this video and obviously massively buff him, just as I've requested. Because they'll do me a solid like that, promise. That won't happen. But you can head over there, you can use the code Black Crow to get 5% off, and you can do that for their events as well. They've just released a team event in September. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be at both of their events coming up at the end of Easter this month, and then end of June, and then obviously the September teams event. Going to be at all of them, because I love those guys. It's great fun. It's a lovely environment. It's a good laugh. And I just really recommend it. Use the WTC pack, which is quite interesting. It's something that's a bit different from playing UKTC all the time, if you're based in the UK. So I'm a big fan, and I like the Glasshammer terrain. It is switching to WTC terrain, and I'm really excited to play on more WTC terrain. Although, funnily enough, I'm actually taking my Stormlance list to a Teams event, which is WTC terrain, in a couple of weeks. Funnily enough, playing with Glasshammer Gaming. So looking forward to that one. Getting to team up with Manny rather than get absolutely splattered by him from across the table, which is quite nice. And then we've got Terrainforge, which is our terrain sponsor. So if you'd like to go and pick up some lovely terrain or some like nice markers, I use my 9-inch stick all the time. I have my own built-in engagement range stick, but I need those other tools to sort of complement that as well. And the 9-inch stick is honestly probably the most useful. And then you can become a super member of Black Crow Gaming now. How cool. You can hear me bitch and moan more about how shit the Lion is more often, which I think is oh, hope you enjoyed that. Which I think is a massive bonus. But I do also do more positive content. I do lots of tournament reviews. I also do the Primarch playbook, which is a Space Marine specific list, and kind of focuses a little bit more on those fundamentals. You can go and check out my Patreon, which is Angelus Mortis. I also offer a coaching service. So if you are looking for someone to kind of go through how you can improve your game, how you can get better with other Dark Angels or a different army. I am army agnostic in terms of supporting players. I've got Dark Angels, Custodes, Orcs, all sorts that I kind of help people out with. But yeah, there's lots of flexibility in terms of how we can do that coaching for you. So get in contact. I have a Discord. Black Crow has a Discord. You can go and follow all of our lovely social media. I'm sure I'll have remembered to put links in the description. I probably haven't, but I will try to. And yeah, come join us. And if you see me at tournaments, come say hi. Like, I love meeting you guys. It's awesome. Oh yeah, there is an event going on in the States, and it's a really cool charity event, and I need to just find the details for it. Let me grab these up. A guy on my Discord server contacted me and was like, hey, we're doing this charity event called Extra Life, and it's based at Warehouse Comics, Cards and Games. It's a 40k charity tournament going to Extra Life, which is a children's charity that helps very sick children, which is really, really cool. It's based in Indiana, and like, go check it out. Like, it's a really cool charity. I love Extra Life. I don't know if we have them here in the UK, but like, I know the work they do in the States. It is incredible. So get fucking involved. Like, go and either donate money to their raffle, like, go to that tournament. It's going to be fun. And it's one of those tournaments where you don't have to worry so much about the competitive aspect. You can crack out those really cool models. Maybe you can run this list. Like, it would be the kind of thing where if I was able to make it to Indiana, I would bring a Titan because it's funny. It's the kind of thing where you can just have a laugh, like, chill out, meet other nerds, have a great time, be a great sport, and just enjoy what you do, and know that you're supporting an incredible cause by doing that. So go and check out that GT. I'm sure that if you are in the Angelus Mortis Discord, Father of Vincent, who contacted me about this, can give you more details as well. So check that out. And yeah, really incredible cause. Really, really happy that he asked me to support it as well. And super pleased to support it because it's an incredible thing. And supporting children that are in very difficult circumstances is a noble cause that I think we can all get behind. Which is, and it's nice to see the community unite over these incredible causes. So big love to the guys that are organising that. Big love to the local game store that's putting that on. And get your back signs to Indiana. If you live in Indiana and you don't go to this tournament, I will come to your house and I'll lightly fart in your mailbox. And that's not a euphemism, although it might be. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. And remember, stay loyal, fuckers. See you later, guys. Bye.